Hey family, welcome back. It's good to see you. Thank you for the work that we did together on resentments earlier this week. I know that going into resentments brings up a lot of feelings. So I just want to check in with you. How are you doing? What feelings have been arising as you visited those places of the greatest pain in our lives, those places where we decided we're not going to be vulnerable. We're not going to trust people. It's always going to be that way for us. How was it to go into that territory? Did you notice as you started to look at the places where you've caused pain, where you might be on someone's resentment list, that there was blame or self-judgment? Just want to notice that. Because all of this work that we're doing requires that we feel some painful feelings. And the thing that gets in the way, that stops those painful feelings from moving, from offloading, from releasing, is judgment, right? It's that we should have done it better. We shouldn't have those feelings. We shouldn't have done that thing. So self-judgment, blame is going to come up. But let's be soft with that and let's let it go. And let's keep that sense of curiosity as we do the work today. Often for me, what comes up when I embrace the times that I experience pain or betrayal from another person, or I was the cause of a very similar kind of pain for someone else. I was betrayed, and that was devastating to me, and I betrayed someone. I wasn't there for someone. I abandoned someone. Is grief, right? So we want to make space for grief to come up, for sadness to come up, for regret to come up. Regret is often seen as this burden that we have to carry, this specter, this feeling like there's this thing that's never going to be resolved. Regret can actually be a teacher, a jet engine for what we want to create in our life, what we never want to see again, ways that we never want to act again. We want to be aware of other people. We want to be aware that the same vulnerability, the same fragility, the same tenderness in us that got wounded is also in other people. And humans often act like bulls in china cabinets, and we crash around and we hurt people's hearts. So regret isn't something we have to shrink away from. Regret can actually teach us, motivate us, ground us in the life that we want in the future. So I'm wondering, as we start to have this conversation, if you can start to sense that there's freedom in letting go of resentments. I'm wondering if you've been exploring this week, as I have been, the possibility of forgiving yourself, of letting go of self-blame. And what would forgiveness of ourselves feel like? It's really the most courageous thing, actually finding ourselves innocent and loving ourselves and allowing ourselves to be fully who we are, and to not live a life that is run by the past, both our regret and our resentments and our bracing in the future for the pain we experienced in the past, is the greatest act of courage that we could possibly take. You're taking that act of courage today. So thank you. Thank you for taking it with me. I'm doing this process right along with you. So as we transition from this conversation that we had in the last video about resentment to forgiveness, let's start with what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not offering trust to someone who has not earned your trust. Forgiveness is not about putting yourself in emotional or physical danger. Forgiveness is not about making bad behavior or harmful actions okay. We're not sanctioning what happened. Forgiveness is not something you do for someone else. You're not letting someone else off the hook. You're not giving anyone a free pass. You're creating freedom in your own body to fully live at your present age, in the present, and create what you want for your life. So just want to be clear as we start on what forgiveness is not. We explored resentment in the first part of the video, and really forgiveness is the action part of letting go of resentment. It's what we do to let go of resentment. Forgiving ourselves, there may be an apology or an amends that needs to be made inside of us, and there may be actions that need to be taken with someone else. There's this thing called internal justice, right? And when we're young, we think we can get away with something, right? We can lie, we can cheat, we can steal, we can game the system. And the truth is, each of us has a sense of internal justice. And if we've done something that we feel is out of integrity, we will punish ourselves for that, right? And what does that look like? That looks like not letting ourselves have full expression of joy, not letting ourselves be loved, not letting ourselves have ease in our life, not letting ourselves have pleasure, not letting ourselves thrive and be in relationships where we feel seen and celebrated. So part of why we do these apologies and amends is not for other people. It's helps other people, feels good, but it's really to bring back the balance in our own internal sense of what's right. As I looked at my life and did this process, I went back and I could see where I had taken an action. Maybe I had stolen something and I needed to make an amends and I needed to have an apology. Once I did that apology, once I made that apology and I made that amends, something came back into alignment inside of me, which allowed me to then experience more of who I am and be more connected to myself. So again, this sense of internal justice, I want us to really explore this in ourselves. What does it take, as we look at apologies and amends, for us to feel resolved with the pain that we've caused? We may need to make amends. We may need to apologize to ourselves. It's individual. This is something that's a process we're undertaking in ourselves to come back into balance, to bring our energy back. So, as we often do, let's go inside. Let's take a look. What does all this mean for our bodies, for our lives, for our system? So letting your feet be on the floor, I'm going to cast my eyes down. The invitation is for you to close your eyes. I'm taking a deep breath in, breathing into my belly. I'm feeling my body. I'm feeling my feet on the floor. Inviting you to feel your legs, to feel your pelvis, to feel your chest, to feel your heart. And to take up a little room, to take up a little space, to imagine that you're actually a little bigger, that your physical space, that the place that you occupy is a little bigger. And using that breath to find what are the feelings that are there. Often we have a little bit of fear, often we have a little bit of apprehension as we start to look at forgiveness. And knowing that this body that we're breathing into remembers every moment of our life, every situation, every feeling, every action, every reaction. It's all in there. This body, the spirit, this human that you are has a deep drive to come back into that balance we were just talking about, to come back into wholeness. it has the capacity to heal itself. It knows how to do that. It remembers how to do that. We might forget in our minds, but the body remembers how to heal itself, how to come back into balance. Even if we've never done it before, the body remembers. So just gently bringing to mind areas where you're still holding resentment. I know we've done a lot of exploration around that. You made some lists last time. And asking yourself the question, really letting this question land, are you willing to consider forgiving yourself and everyone involved in the pain that was caused in a particular resentment, in these many resentments that you're holding? And it's totally okay if the answer is no, I'm not willing to forgive. Or I don't know right now. We're just asking the question, are we willing to forgive? And as we dwell in that question, are we willing to forgive? And we're present to those big resentments and the whole field of resentments that we carry. Just letting ourselves see what would be available to us if we forgave. What would be available to us if we did not blame ourselves or other people for our past pain? That's a big ask. What would be available to ourselves if we did not blame ourselves or other people for our past pain? What would be available if instead we used our past pain to deepen our commitment to get what we want, to get what we deserve, to have the life that we dream of, to not make the life ahead of us be a life driven by the past? Most people are living a life under control of their past. What if forgiveness was your doorway into living a life driven by your deepest passion? By that hunger to live every moment to the fullest? What if forgiveness is that doorway? Just spend a moment feeling that hunger for freedom that lives in all of us. That hunger for freedom that brought you into this course, that's had you do all the work thus far in this course. That hunger for freedom has been driving you your whole life. It's in each one of us. It's awakened in you. Let's just feel that force. That's the force that helps us go through these gnarly bits. The force that helps us get out of our comfort zone and take the action we need to take. And again, let's take a moment to become present to how much we think about and give energy to our resentments. What would it mean for us to take some of that mental and emotional energy back and give it to what we're most passionate about? Forgiveness is first an internal process. Once we forgive, we know there may be actions to take out in the world. But those actions come after we offer ourselves and other people forgiveness. Now, we're simply asking the question in this meditation, are we open to moving towards letting go of our resentments and beginning the process of forgiveness? Are we open to that? And as we dwell on that question, just knowing that Many people live with regret as a burden they carry their entire lives. Many people take their resentments to their graves. Your willingness to simply ask the question, am I open to the possibility of forgiveness, is again such a courageous, radical act. Thank yourself for being willing to just dwell in the question, am I willing to forgive? Am I willing to let go of my resentments? As you feel that thanks land in your chest, trusting the places where you're ready to forgive now, those where you're unsure, and those where right now you're no, I'm not willing to let go of that resentment. I'm not willing to forgive that person. I'm not willing to forgive myself for causing that pain. Wherever you are with forgiveness, thanking yourself for looking, for being honest, for being authentic, and then gently coming back, letting your eyes open. And as we often do, we're going to do some writing. So go ahead and pull out your pen and paper, open your computer, your application that you use to write. And I'd like you to list all your resentments, and next to each, write a letter that represents your openness to forgiving yourself and others for the pain that was caused in that situation. 3 choices in the letters. Yes, you can just put why. Yes, I'm open to the possibility of forgiving. I'm just open to the possibility. Not a commitment, but I'm open to the possibility. Maybe I could be open to the possibility of forgiving, but I'm not sure at this time. Maybe. I'm on the fence. That's an M. And then N, I am not open to the possibility of forgiving at this time. And usually for each of us, there's one of those. That's why it's called a forgiveness process. So you've got the instructions and a slide to guide you. You've got some time. Again, if you want to keep going with this, because there needs to be a letter by each resentment that you're holding, pause the video and continue until you're finished, and then start the video again. Great work. So hold on to that list. You'll be using it in your home group in different ways. And now I'd like you to think about one resentment that's significant to you and what might be available to you if you forgave. And then what might get in the way of forgiving? What's the thing that might get in the way of forgiving? Maybe it's being right. Maybe it's a whole part of your identity has formed around this resentment, and forgiving would mean letting go of all of that, letting go of a big position of why your life is the way it is. And then writing, what is my biggest fear about opening to the possibility of forgiving this resentment? So just take one resentment and write what might get in the way of forgiving, and then what's your biggest fear about just opening to the possibility of forgiveness around this resentment. Go ahead and do it now. And now you're going to have a chance to write, if I was open to forgiveness, what are the specific decisions, events, and situation that I would offer my forgiveness around? If you were open to forgiveness, what would you offer yourself forgiveness around? There's a slide to support you. Continue writing until the timer runs out. Pause the video if you want to continue. And now the last question is, if I was open to forgiving, if I was open to letting go of resentments and bringing back some of that energy that I've devoted to maintaining those resentments, where would that energy go? Where would I put that new energy into things that I'm passionate about? There's a slide to support you. You've got 3 minutes, but take as long as you need. Pause the video if the timer runs out and continue when you're ready. Great work. Looking forward to seeing you in your home groups. Take some time and look at your resentment list and look at the list you've made today and your willingness to forgive. The process that we'll do in the home groups this week is a sacred one. Often people report it's one of the most powerful processes in the 15 weeks. So don't miss it. Come to class ready to let go, to move, to be out of your comfort zone. Can't wait to see you then, and thanks for being with me today.